Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. July is another dry month as far as new releases go, so it's time to delve into my favorite little side project, Rush Explained. The game is full of such whimsical, outrageous archetypes, but I've been focusing on a lot of the machine ones lately. Be they imports or Rush originals, that type seems to permeate a great deal of the game's space, so I figured it was time to pivot to something a bit more practical, something we use every day and probably don't even notice, unless they're really, really bad. They're like the stagehands or editors of our world, doing the work no one else will, all for the love of the game. And they made a whole archetype about them in Rush. So let's give these courageous constructs the respect they're due with chairs explained. Today's episode is possible thanks to viewers like you, as well as my patrons. If you like what I do here, I would super appreciate it if you'd subscribe to help us reach another wonderful milestone video. And if you want to support me directly while getting some awesome benefits, check out the link to my Patreon in the description below. So, what's the deal with chairs? That's a sentence. The chair monsters are a series of dark attribute monsters with 0 attack, and they care very much for showing that off. Their support is meant to work with other 0 attack monsters and to punish those who would dare to foster the spirit of aggression within them, a strategy that I'm sure will work very well. But, as with most things in Rush, we have to start off with our normal monsters. Scare Chair Bone is a level 1 zombie monster with 0 attack and defense. One of the earliest organic chairs said to be made by a family of artisans. Has a distinct feel when sat upon. That's not... I feel uncomfortable that it's making a distinction about organic chairs made by a family of artisans? This is some Resident Evil nonsense. At least, that was my first impression, but upon doing a bit of extra research, it seems like these cards may in some way be based off of a short story from Japanese author Edogawa Ronpo called The Human Chair. So that's fun. Next we have Scare Chair Saber, a level 1 warrior monster with 0 attack and 1400 defense, a masterpiece organic chair made by a family of artisans at the peak of their craft. Extremely comfortable. Okay, this one is better, but still with the organic thing, not here for that. Also, I'm not from a family of artisans, so, I'm not an expert, but swords, I am positive, would not make for good chair legs. That's preposterous. Our last normal monster is Scare Chair Gear, a level 3 machine monster with 0 attack and 1200 defense, a mechanical chair that is easy to mass produce. It's not as comfortable to sit in as the organic chairs from before. Now, that doesn't mean it's not comfortable at all, just not as, and I mean, this one even comes with a footrest, so I'm down. Honestly, if this didn't have the guillotine theming, maybe if we had a couple of throw pillows to put on there, I'd put it in my room. Though if it kept the guillotine theming, I know a few wealthy individuals that this would work perfectly with. Alright, we've got the normies out of the way, now it's time for the things that have actual effect text. Scare Chair Code is a level 1 Cyberse monster with 0 attack and defense, whose effect requires you to place a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. The effect adds up to 2 Cyberse type maximum monsters and or Dark Attribute Fiend type monsters with 0 attack and 2400 defense from your grave to your hand. Folks, we did it. We added a gamer chair to the rotation. But let's tackle the elephant in the room first. Why are these search targets so specific? Well, the latter is easy to answer. While the chairs make up a wide variety of types, 2 of our boss monsters are fiends with that exact stat spread. So this gets them out of the grave for you. But that whole thing about Cyberse type maximum monsters? That's nowhere anywhere in this theme. Instead, this is more of an anime reference. A quick run through, chairs are run by a character named Seat Bastion, and if you guessed they were a sentient massage chair, then you were dead wrong, you fool! They also have an autonomous robot form. And he's programmed to be the personal butler of Nail Sionji, an antagonist turned ally who's responsible for the very creation of maximum monsters. Yuga may have made Rush, but a little collaboration goes a long way. And Nail's maximum monsters are Cyberse type, so Code here works as a support card for that, helping to put any lost pieces back into your hand, and it does mean you can play Yggdrago the Sky Emperor in this deck because of it, if you can tear yourself away from your overflowing Steam library to do so. Scare Chair Scale is a level 1 Sea Serpent monster with 0 attack and 100 defense, and their requirement is that you have no other monsters on your field, and you have to place 2 monsters with 0 attack from your grave on the bottom of your deck. The effect special summons a level 5 or higher monster with 0 attack from your grave to your field in face-up attack position. That's not too bad. Getting monsters out of our grave, especially high value ones, is a pretty nifty effect, and we've got a fair few number of monsters that can make use of this effect in theme, and doubtless there are a few outside of it as well. In fact, call to action is coming a bit early in this video, but what other monsters can you bring back with this that are worth doing it for? I'm very curious. In the meantime, I'm going to contemplate where this falls on the organic to inorganic chair spectrum. I assume the scales from it are from an actual sea serpent, but the frame looks wooden. But could it be fake wood? Driftwood? I didn't know. Scare Chair Relaxer is a level 2 fairy monster with 0 attack and 500 defense, and their requirement needs you to send a monster with 0 attack from your hand to the grave. The effect sends the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, and if any number of level 8 or lower dark attribute monsters are among the cards sent, add a level 8 or lower dark attribute monster from your graveyard to your hand, and your opponent gains life points equal to that monster's attack. So you could play this in any deck that runs dark monsters to help put those cards back into your hand to make use of them again. Heck, any that you splash into your chair deck can now be recycled should the need arise. But it is only with chairs that you can do this without your opponent gaining any life points for the inconvenience. And knowing your opponent will continue to suffer? Well, what's more relaxing than that? Dahoot, Dark Ruler of the Chair, is a level 7 fiend monster with 0 attack and 2400 defense, whose requirement has you sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard. The effect has this card gain attack equal to the level of another face-up monster on your field with 0 attack, times 500 until the end of this turn. So this is the big angle for the theme. You put this onto your board and pair it with another large chair, and this becomes a hulking brute, at which point you can go stomping for the turn, before you realize that this maintains the bonus until the end of that turn, and you're at the whims of your opponent and your own protective back row to determine if this thing sees another day. But if things ought to go wrong, Scare Chair Code is here to help scoop it out of your graveyard for you, so I guess that's nice. But you best do your best to make sure this thing sticks around. Otherwise, you'll have a Dark Ruler no more. Dahoot Abyss, Dark Mirror Ruler of the Chair, is a level 7 fiend monster with 0 attack and 2400 defense, with the requirement of shuffling any number of monsters with 0 attack from your grave into your deck. The effect makes one other face-up monster on the field lose attack equal to the number of monsters shuffled into the deck to meet the requirement, times 300 until the end of the turn, while this card gains the same amount of attack for the same period of time. This one is more self-sufficient than base Dahoot, though does need a significant grave setup if you want a decent attack score. Though because you're also debuffing a monster, the total swing between Abyss Dahoot and the target of your animosity is a lot stronger than it might seem on the surface. Though if you want long-term success, you're going to have to find ways to keep fueling your grave with 0 attack monsters. Also, I need a favor. Can anyone tell me how either of the Dahoots relate back to chairs? I haven't seen one flat top among them this whole time. What is the deal with them? Throne of Darkness is a level 8 fiend monster with 0 attack and 2500 defense, with the requirement that you have 8 or more monsters with 0 attack in your grave. The effect special summons a level 7 or higher monster with 0 attack from your hand to your field in attack position. This is the big payoff card you want to be pairing with base Dahoot. Targeting it gives the Dark Ruler a total of 4000 attack. That rivals most maximum monsters, which is kind of goofy, even if the boost does only last for a turn. The funky thing is, though, that this effect has an anti-synergy with Dahoot Abyss, because it needs to shuffle monsters into the deck for the attack muddling effect, while Throne needs you to have gotten to a threshold of 8 for free summons out of your hand. Abyss could be more of a Hail Mary option that you use when you have no other options, and being able to recycle all those monsters puts you in a great position to do all of your combos over again. But using them together recklessly is not a good idea. It might be good to keep in mind that, at least where this theme is concerned, the throne makes the man, not the other way around. Alright, that does it for the monsters. Now it's time for the spells and traps. Darkness Ritual is a normal spell card that requires you to have a dark attribute monster in your graveyard and to send 3 face-up dark attribute monsters from your field to the grave. The effect special summons a dark attribute monster from your grave face-up to your field. Then, if you have 3 dark attribute monsters with the same name in your grave, you can draw a card. So should you have a slurry of chairs or other dark attribute monsters that you splashed in, you can churn them up to bring out a real baddie from the grave. And then if you have a 3-of-a-kind monster in your graveyard, it just replaces itself with a fresh draw so you can continue to possibly combo off. The primary targets here are probably Dahoot or Throne, but because you need to send 3 to the graveyard, whatever you summon is going to be standing alone, which means you have the right conditions to make full use of Scare Chair's scale, right down to have cashed in a ton of monsters to put back into the deck to pay for the requirement. This seems like a really explosive inclusion, but sadly was ahead of its time. As a Ritual card, it won't be able to benefit from all the funky Ritual cards coming out now. I'm surprised they found a way to make chairs obsolete, but hey, innovation is always where you least expect it. Collapsing Chairs is a normal trap card that requires your attack position dark attribute monster with 0 attack to be destroyed by an opponent's attack. The effect destroys all level 8 or lower attack position monsters on the field. Then, each player sends cards equal to the number of monsters destroyed by this effect from the top of their deck to the grave. So hey, while the chances of us taking a massive chunk of damage from using 0 attack monsters is high, at least you have the threat of a board wipe each time they go for it. Granted, this does nuke your own attack position monsters, so you're likely going to have to build things up from scratch, but hey, because of the mill, you might have a bunch of chairs left in your graveyard so that you can reach your throne threshold, or even get a sweet scale effect, so it's not all bad. It's a win-win for everyone, except for the poor person that has to stack all those chairs again for the next time you activate this card. Whatever they pay that guy, it cannot be enough. Joining Chairs is a normal trap card that requires your opponent to normal summon a monster while you have 3 face-up monsters with 0 attack on your field. The effect changes up to 2 monsters on your field to face-up defense position, and this turn, if you have a defense position monster, your opponent's monsters can only attack defense position monsters. Hey, congrats! You found your big stall tactic card. While our usual defenses are pretty mid, even by Rush standards, Throne's whopping 2500 makes it a great wall to ward off attacks. So if you can pair them together, it'll be a rampart that rivals even the most robust fortresses. Or you can have Scare Chair Bone do a sick parry, that works too. Why does the chair have shoes? Who tailors the shoes for the bone chair? I simply must know the deep chair lore that's being drip fed to me in this card. Alright, that's all the chair cards, but what do we do with them? Well, a way to keep our nose clean from the metric buttload of damage we're sure to get saddled with for playing exclusively 0 attack monsters that love to stay in attack position would be nice, especially if they help us to achieve a win along the way. A great defense is a good offense after all. Aside from that, any dark support we can toss in would be greatly appreciated so that our chairs have some legs to stand on. So what can we play to help them out? I think the most prominent piece of support is the spell card that's going to take up the legend slot for our deck, Shield and Sword. Switching the original attack and defense of all face-up monsters on the field is going to be a huge boon, since it means we won't have to rely as much on our other gimmicks to give us an edge in combat, especially if we're going up against an opponent whose monsters lack a good defense stat because it affects them as well. Activate this once you've got Dahoot and Throne on the board, and you're looking at a monster commanding 6,400 attack points. But in the long run, that doesn't seem very viable. I mean, you can only run a single copy of any given legend card. How is this supposed to sustain us through a whole duel? Well, that's where the Rush Original Sword and Shield comes in. Yeah, that's not confusing at all. It requires an opponent's level 9 or lower monster to declare an attack targeting your attack position monster, and it switches the original attack and defense of the attacking monster and the attack target. And if you do, you can also add a Shield and Sword from your graveyard to your hand. This creates an interesting loop where you use the spell on your turn to power up your field and hopefully debuff your opponent, then use the trap card defensively when your opponent tries to make a push, which then puts the spell back into your hand to use again. A pretty clever way to get multiple uses out of a card designed to be limited. Good job, devs. When it comes to support cards, Tama the Mancer Cat can help get some tribute fodder out of your graveyard for you, as a sufficient mill can nab you any of your normal monsters from the start of the video. Royal Rebel's Guardian can be the whole tribute for either Dahoots or Throne if your opponent has a large enough monster. Genie's Fire Breath is back row removal to help make some plays safer. Archfiend's Thunderbolt provides you with some removal once you've landed one of your boss monsters, and Abyssite Ray Monochrome has the capacity to shuffle back your important cards for later, even if the level 4 cap manages to avoid recycling your bosses. When it comes to adding more win conditions, a few monsters spring to mind. There's a bunch of love monsters that have 0 attack, and while not all of them fit the bill for what we're planning to do, I Love Ange can be tribute summoned with only a single 0 attack monster, so take your pick, is also Dark Attribute with 0 attack, so it fits with a ton of our effects, and gains 2200 attack once it touches down on the board, as well as dealing piercing battle damage, and prevents your monsters with 0 original attack from being destroyed by your opponent's monster or spell effects. That's really goofy. On top of that, you have All Love Goddess, which aesthetically is the furthest thing from our own, but can be normal summoned without any tributes if you control a face-up monster with 0 original attack. It gains 1000 attack for each monster you control that has 0 original attack, possibly bumping it up to a cool 3000 since it counts itself, and keeps you from taking battle damage in battles involving your monsters with 0 attack. What a blessing. As far as Legend of Monsters go, it's hard to go wrong with Dark Lord Zerato. Meeting the discounted tribute condition should be a paltry effort for us to achieve, and in return for an additional discard, we get to clear the way for some direct attacks, a devastating way to end a duel if ever I've seen one. When it comes to what will fill the trap card section of our Legend roster, there isn't anything that specifically supports our theme, but Negate Attack might be worth considering because it can blank a battle phase to keep your 0 attack chairs safe. Though, if you want to be cheeky, you can always try Magic Cylinder, luring your opponent into thinking they have the game-winning attack, when in fact it was you who had the game-winning trap card the whole time. As for a silly tech pick, I've got to recommend Hermit Soul. It negates an attack on one of our monsters and gets you back one of your normals. Is it particularly powerful? I don't think so. Is the card a big buff old guy reflecting attack with his awesome pecs? You bet it is! And that's all I've got to say about shares. The whimsy and joy of Rush shines through in every facet of this deck, even if it is trying to exude menace, have hype moments, and farm aura. It's just impossible to be taken seriously when shares are your main motif, and that doesn't stop them from having a few tricks that'll trip you up. Just make sure that you buy organically, I guess. Folks, do not read the human share. You do not want that energy in your life. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Is this archetype a grand throne from which to view your domain, or does it sharely get the job done? Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, be sure to check out one of my videos in the sidebar to help me show up on your homepage, and be sure to share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout while helping out the channel. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commander, Upstairs Media, Nebula Navigators, 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabytes, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Kane Senpai, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Great Big Pillock, Groog, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Marion James E. Picata, Meme King, Millennia Asta, Muse Clark, Neon Yaminair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Boos, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sonic 21 Blast, the Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Ally Vatnia, Animasta, Anthrak, a Random Pup, Blitzwolf, Chaz Ghost, Christopher Fuss, again, Chris B, Cool Trainer Dark, Dr. Entity RIP, EB Channel, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Inblink, Julian Marquez, Kale the Dragon, Lobomaru02, Manga Pages, Natiel Lee Alexander, Nitromo, Not Al Gore, Obsidian, Pombo, Rhyme Kairos, Shizuka Nijimura, Simic Toadstool, Sir Knight JCB, Sphilia, Stephen Huntsman, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Queen of Time, The Gene, Tiger X2476, Tristan O'Meara and Zaldrucka, as well as all the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you'd like to learn more about Rush Duels, I've got a video walking you through the mechanics of the game right here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.